interest. I will say it could be in the interest of everyone. It may also be in the interest of no one. Because the removal by itself does not address the real issue that defines who benefits and who doesn't. Public policy is never value neutral. You cautiously choose your policies, you target who to benefit, and you also target who pays for it. There is no free lunch.
She una don't see now the time when Oshomule be Oshomule na be that. But this present time now when we do Oshomule not be Oshomule again, Oshomule don't corrupt. Oshomule don't join the people when they destroy Nigeria. Oshomule don't join the people when they bring Nigeria down. Oshomule don't join the people when they steal mandate. Oshomule don't join the people when they read the election. Make una see the interview when Oshomule when they interview Oshomule. Make una see the interview when Oshomule dey. Make una share. Make una dey watch wetin Oshomule they talk. Whether na good thing in they talk about Nigerians. Whether wetin they talk now will help Nigerians. My people, now so I will talk and reach. Make una watch and now be this so not all.
Is whether or not this idea was properly thought through before the president made his statement on 29th of May.
Oh yes, I mean, you were very active during the electioneering campaign. If there is one issue in which all the leading presidential candidates had agreement on, it is that they all agreed that the subsidy will go. I remember the then candidate, Peter Obi, saying he will remove it the very first day. Candidate Atiku said the same thing. Candidate Bola Tinubu said the same thing. So in other words, I can even argue that since these three leading presidential candidates all told Nigerians, look, if you elect me, I will, among other things, remove the subsidy. And Nigeria proceeded to vote for them. It is arguable if they did it, that in casting their vote, they did not anticipate that those statements will be implemented. I think the issue here is not whether you have revenue. If you are borrowing several trillion, assuming, I don't know the source of this funding, other than what we read in the newspapers, and they are not often correct sometimes. If Nigeria is going to save about 6 or 7 trillion by withdrawing subsidy, then there is no question that you can take part of that and put it in the wage sector. Because those savings will go to the federation account, which will be distributed to the 3 tiers of government. So every tier of government, we have more money, and therefore should be able to meet the consequential increase in wages. Because of government, the primary purpose of government is the welfare of the people. So you cannot expect to, you can't take decisions that you know will impact on cost of living without thinking through how you will deal with the consequences. And I'm happy that President Tinubu has said he's ready. He believes that there is need to review the national minimum wage.
Would the FG consider reverting to the old price? Because that's one of the demands. Would the federal government consider reverting to the old price? That's one of the demands, at least for this week.
I think most Nigerians are aware. Just even those who just watch channel television, even if they don't watch any other media. But this year's budget, the wisdom of the government at the time the budget was crafted, did not provide for subsidy throughout 2023. That will end in June. So, where is the money? So if you say revert back, then you have to knock the doors of your lenders and say you want to lend again.
But the FG has been defaulting. Based on what NNP, the federal government has been defaulting for several months. That's what the NNP
defaulting
said.
What?
In paying the subsidy. You made reference that there have been budget for it,
so
but the federal government have not been meeting their own side of the deal.
You've answered the question. So if the federal government have been defaulting, should this new government continue with a bad habit? My answer would be no.
But does this government...
Don't offer what you can't afford.
Has this government planned properly for this idea?
Pardon?
Has this government under Bola Tinubu planned properly for this idea? Because one of the issues that has been raised is, has this government thought it through properly, made the right process and go through the right process before making the pronouncement?
Well, if your intention is to turn me to the federal government spokesperson, I will respectfully decline.
Well, you were sitting in the federal government team.
Yeah. That does not make me anything other than who I am. I am just a senator elect at the moment. But I don't think that is the issue. You know better than that. I think what you should be discussing is Nigerians are more or less those who understand the workings of the macro, those who understand the huge challenge that we face as a nation. It's no longer controversial. I mean, it is not a coincidence that you find 3 leading presidential candidates all agree that the subsidy has to go. And yet Nigeria went to vote for those 3. So don't take it beyond that. Now, when you make a policy, you sit back and discuss all the ramifications of the policy. Now, I believe the president knew that in any case, he didn't have any option because there's no more any budgetary provision for it. And you are even the one reminding me that even what was budgeted for, according to NNPC, that the federal government defaulted, which means it was all paperwork and we were just buying time. How much more time can you buy? In leadership, sometimes you have to take tough but necessary decisions in order to save the patient. When doctors carry out surgery, they know that there will be some pain, but the surgery is necessary in order to keep the patient alive. He will suffer pain in the short run, but in the long run, you are hoping that he will live longer. I think those are the issues. It's not about whether you talk properly, you did it properly. The vital thing, the important thing for me is nobody should lay claim to monopoly of solution. And that is why the government is ready and decided to appoint some group of persons and empower them to go into dialogue with organized labor, because the response of labor is legitimate. Namely, that this decision will lead to higher cost of living. My take-home pay can no longer take me home. Therefore, you need to do XYZ. Whether you revise the policy today and bring it back in June, what is the difference? Now, you also know better. Public policy should be formed by common sense. It's not about ego. You know that assuming today the government was to announce, I'm revising the policy until June, the marketer will start hoarding and the price will go even higher. During the last fuel crisis, I found myself paying 1,000 naira a liter in a place in Edo State where, I ran out of fuel and I had to refuel in order to be able to get back home. And I wasn't the only one. Many people went through that. And you see people sleeping in petrol stations and so on and so forth. So once it is in the air that you are going to, from so date, you are going to change prices, hoarding will resort. The Nigerian state does not have the capacity to jail all those who resort to certain habits that can be considered to be economic sabotage, which hoarding, in my view, represent. And so we have had to live with these marketers who did the country to ransom, cutting corners, and so on. In the city, they can please people like Shehu by ensuring the NNPC station sell like a true price, but 2 kilometers outside Abuja, you want PMS, and your tank is dry, you pay the rate that the marketer is willing to sell. And you can't get police, even the police people, police officers pay the same price. I think we should just discuss, really, what I actually want to discuss is, now that the president has formalized the announcement, I use formality because it wasn't budgeted for. So, stated or not, the subsidy has already been withdrawn. And it is not a sudden withdrawal because at the time the budget was announced, we were told as a people that the subsidy will end in June. So it is not a decision that this president had to take. It was about acknowledging what appeared to be a fait accompli that he inherited. Comrade, but let me also say, even if he didn't inherit it, the question to you is, I think we should be talking about